Welcome back to Chow Time Pods. Your host Red. I got a video of the day from Pearl. Girl math.
Let's go shopping with my boyfriend's credit card. He's giving me a $500 shopping spree. Let's go shopping.
My wife, she's kind of gotten out of control with her spending. She got a credit card this year, and she maxed it out at $6,000.
What'd she buy?
She has. I go home every day, and I look around, and I don't see anything besides clothes, I guess. Maybe clothes.
Okay, I have a haul, and this is from the last 2 days, and Loki did a little bit of damage, so let's see what I got.
Hey guys.
Like the whole shopping thing, definitely I'm not a woman. Like, I don't get the whole wanting to spend so much money on useless junk thing. Every time I buy something, I have to use that shit to get its value. Like, if I do not get my value out of that particular item, I'm probably not gonna buy it. If I bought something for $300, all you best believe I better have gotten like $1,000 worth of value out of that item.
It turns out another feminist needs a study from a far left-leaning university to tell her that water is wet, sky is blue, and a little while ago, I tried to have a friendly conversation with a TikTok feminist, but as feminists do, it quickly devolved into her using the cheap tactic of asking for sources every second sentence I said. Right.
And again, what's that source?
But debt is not a problem if you can pay it back.
What is the source?
I
mean, you're just gonna talk out of your ass, and then when I give a study,
well,
they can just say anything.
She didn't care or even deny that the stat was true because she had no idea, and she would look pretty silly if it turned out to be accurate. Instead, she just fell back on the cheap tactic of asking for sources continually in the hopes that I had not memorized an entire encyclopedia prior to sitting down. And heaven help you if it's a stat you learned months ago or years ago. Bottom line, asking for citations mid-debate is amateur hour if you know the subject. You either know that the stat is true or you don't. And you don't try to derail an entire debate by continually whining, citation needed, citation needed, citation needed, when a fact crosses your path that is inconvenient to your delusional feminist ideology. What are we, Destiny?
He's pretty left-leaning.
In this case, the stat is completely true. Women do control the overwhelming majority of spending. In fact, when you boil down the numbers, it's quite a severe and chronic problem in our society.
For Morgan Stanley, for major corporations and major investment companies to be like, yeah, women are enticing.
Supposedly equal society. And it would be a lot easier to listen to modern women complain about how oppressed they are if they weren't out here spending all of their money, men's money, the government's money, everybody's money. Now, let's start with individual spending. According to BCG, the Boston Consulting Group, U.S. women control approximately 85% of...
That is crazy. By the way, 85% of just consumer spending. Holy.
Consumer spending across the board. The entire private sector, despite being only 47% of the workforce and 50% of the total population. Let that sink in for a second. It's a result of women not only controlling men's purse strings in relationships, but also women being more careless and wasteful with their own private spending. One of the most common and ridiculous counter-arguments these feminists use to avoid the utter shame of such an imbalance is to say that most of the 85% of spending is somehow selfless. For instance, most of those purchases are for the entire family, like grocery shopping, as if it were somehow a virtuous sacrifice and a major burden on women to prevent their own kids from starving to death. Also, note that 85% figure includes tens of millions of women who are single, childless, or no longer have dependent children living in the house. Bottom line, we're not just talking about women who are selflessly taking time off from their busy schedule.
Like, when you see 85%, I never thought of selfless grocery spending ever.
Of posting garbage on TikTok to head down to the grocery store. We are talking about a manner of selfish, petty, and self-indulgent purchases. And there are a lot.
Purses.
According to Morgan Stanley, females control the overwhelming majority of spending on luxury goods and services. 90% of designer brand clothing, 85% of high-end accessories and jewelry, and 80% of travel expenditures, and 70% of all dining out.
Damn, I wonder what this is for men. Probably like 50% or less, huh?
And often the tiny share of purchases made by men in those categories are done to impress and to get women. Essentially, men buy nice clothes, wear nice watches, designer cologne, and pay for fine dining and vacations to get laid. If women did not exist, it is doubtful most men would even bother. Meanwhile,
True.
Single women dine out
I mean, most luxury goods are not that great.
and take random trips significantly more often than single men, because women attach much more importance to what this says about their social status in their friend group and on social media. And how can women afford it? The truth is they can't. While U.S. credit card debt is roughly equal between the sexes, a figure largely skewed by millions of wives putting their largest purchases on their husbands' accounts, it is women, single and married, who are 30% more likely to put off debts long-term or just not pay them back at all. That's why it always makes me laugh when someone brings up the stat that married men make more money on average. Like, that's a good thing for them. In reality, men need to scramble to get more cash in order to satisfy their wife's spending habits. Essentially, if spending a man's money was an Olympic sport, women would come away with the gold every single time.
Every damn time.
And then promptly try to figure out a way to spend it. Another example,
Good one, Pearl. Good one.
according to Nielsen Consumer Insights, women are responsible for the purchase of a whopping 94% of home furnishings. This should
I told you guys, I don't even have a couches. I don't have like much. The only thing I bought for my living room / kitchen, it was like an island where I eat. That's about it. I mean, a couple stools. I don't have a couch. I have a TV in the kitchen area, but that's about it. No couches, nothing to hang around at. Because why am I gonna buy stuff when I don't even entertain people?
didn't come as a surprise to any man who has been introduced to a woman's pointless collection of 45 throw pillows and a $10,000 couch. Male furnishings are extremely
I mean, I admit I have a pretty expensive bed, but it's a bed.
utilitarian and cost effective. Men buy what they need for domestic furnishings at a decent price and leave it at that. Women's homes are the exact opposite. Part of this might have to do with our nesting instinct, but that in itself doesn't explain the vast sums many women shell out. This is more to do with a woman trying to meet an arbitrary fashion standard she saw in a magazine once, or again, to signal her social status to others. Bottom line, a difference in male and female taste would be fine if it weren't for the fact, like everything else, many of women's tastes come with a potentially life-ruining price tag. So it's kind of hilarious that US women are disproportionately far left, socialist, and anti-capitalist. Their spending is literally propping up the entire system that they consider to be so evil. Never mind the fact that they blame
That is funny. Like, oh, capitalism is so evil, so evil. But yet, I want to buy all the purses.
the rise of such a system on those awful white men. It's hypocrisy in its purest form. Moreover, with women's relentless spending, it's hardly a wonder that big business and government cater almost exclusively to their complaints and interests, whereas men's issues are ignored, while they are treated as a little more than walking wallets and cannon fodder. The whole thing makes a mockery of the wage gap. Anyone who is not willfully ignorant, left-wing political fanatic is probably already aware that respected economists exploded all that wage gap crap years ago. It isn't down to any sex-based discrimination for pay, which would be illegal and has been for more than half a century. It's down to women working less hours, moving into careers with high job security in exchange for lower pay, and failure to negotiate appropriately with private sectors and employers. But even then,
I've had many girlfriends. Yeah, they're literally deathly scared to ask for more money. Majority of the girlfriends I've had that, like, man, I've had this job. They don't ever give me a raise. I'm like, ask for more money. But I don't want to get fired. I'm like, do you want more money? like that's the kind of like, that's men, right? Like, ah, shit, I might get fired, but I want more money.
89 cents on the dollar pales in comparison to controlling how 85% of the money in America is spent. Women not only spend their own money, they spend more than half of men's too. In short, in this enlightened age of female liberation and glorious equality, women work far less and spend far more than their fair share. As an aside, it's hardly surprising that men on average work longer hours and go into higher risk, higher stress professions. A man's job and income, after all, plays a role in how women perceive him and determine whether he'll get laid. Women don't have that pressure in the sexual marketplace.
Nope.
Men, on the other hand, don't really care what women do for work or how much money they bring in. Men simply just are not wired that way. And another thing, perhaps paying women less should not be illegal, and we should just leave it to the market to sort out. An employer should not be forced to pay a woman the same if she's willing to do.
I shouldn't be forced to pay someone certain minimum wages. Like, minimum wage in LA is like 16 something or something. Like, damn, that's a lot of money. When I was growing up, minimum wage was like $6. Like, I barely made any money growing out of high school. Now people are getting paid like $20, $18 an hour. Like, damn.
Less work less hours, or she's ill-suited for the job.
Always.
For instance, a 5'2", 100-pound policewoman earned the same wage as a 6'2", 200-pound man, where the man is going to be more capable of handling himself in dangerous situations. Even as it is, the Equal Pay Act does not apply everywhere. Male models make far less on average than female models. NBA players make far more than the ladies in the WNBA, as they should, because that's what the market dictates. But surprise, surprise, the government is terrible at dealing rationally with the economy. Which brings us to the governmental level. How much in total taxes do men pay versus women? It's not a subject that feminists really like to bring up, and Western governments make it extraordinarily difficult to get clear and reliable numbers. But thanks to the Freedom of Information request in the UK in 2014, we have a pretty good idea. That year, men paid 72% of all income taxes and women paid 28%. That's over 2.5 times more, far
Do women even work?
outstripping any wage gap, which in the UK at the time stood at 90 pence on the pound. That's pathetic when feminists tell us that they don't need men anymore. And nothing could be further from the truth. At the population level, Western men pay more in taxes than they get back from the government in social services, while women profit far more from various governmental services than they pay into the system in the first place. The conclusion was reached.
It's like, we get taxed triple, man. Like, you're with a woman, she takes your money, the government takes your money, they give it to her also. Like, damn. And they just tax you. Just normal taxing. It's like, so you get taxed by your girlfriend, and then your girlfriend they tax your girlfriend on top of that. Like, god dang, government.
By 4 different economic studies carried out in the United States, the UK, the EU, and New Zealand between 2014 and 2024. In 2022, the IMF concluded that in the United States, men transfer at least $300 billion of their wealth to women via government.
What the fuck? We transfer, God.
Services every single year. That's in addition to the money and the raw purchasing power men may hand over to women in their private lives. In 2023, the EU tax benefit redistribution study found that the heavy use women make of the government services not only shrinks the wage gap to nothing, it reverses it, with men making 90 cents for every euro that women earn. To be honest, ladies, it's really beginning to look like that women need men after all. All these studies only looked at a limited range of social services explicitly devoted to women. The biggest one being the dole paid out to single mothers. Surprise, surprise. These studies did not include expenditure more likely to be voted for by bleeding heart women like U.S. aid, climate change reforms, gay pride events, and drag queen storytime subsidies and tax cuts for quote-unquote marginalized groups and government-funded positions, programs, and scholarships based on the sheer bigotry of diversity, equity, and inclusion. In other words, useless programs just wouldn't exist in any Western country if the majority of women voted like the majority of men. In a way, it's hardly surprising that men should blow a
we would have much bigger, base of money. Probably wouldn't be in a deficit.
ton of resources on women in both their private lives and on a national level. Men evolved to be this way. For all but 10,000 of the past 350,000 years, or 97% of the time humans have existed on the planet, we lived in hunter-gatherer communities. Men went out into the wild and risked their lives to hunt animals for food and warm animal fur for clothing. Women gathered wild vegetation, nuts, and berries closer to camp and spent the rest of the time looking after children and making the campsite livable. When the men came back, the women could cook the meat, which provides far more energy per pound than some edible leaves and whole grains.
True.
And sew the pellet
No meat, no eat.
into clothing and shelter. The men would provide and the women would receive. And before anybody says that hunter-gatherer model has been debunked, no, it's only been attacked in a series of propaganda by left-wing academics with a vested interest in discrediting the idea of natural gender roles. The hunter-gatherer model is supported by hundreds of written encounters with primitive peoples and modern-day observations of hunter-gatherer communities that still exist. At most, maybe 1 in 1,000 tribal women will hunt instead of gather, and 1 in 1,000 men in their prime will gather rather than hunt. Exceptions don't make the rule. Anyway, The role of men as providers and women as receivers largely remained the case in ancient societies. The vast bulk of men would engage in backbreaking labor and on the farm.
Let me tell you the truth. Some of the things that men do out there, we have no clue. We really have no clue of some of the ingenuity, the strength, the tasks that some of these men do to make our lives easier. We truly do not know, right? Because there's just so many tasks to make society run, and majority of the dirty ones, men operate.
Or down in the mines, and the women would deal with the domicile, which was a much harder job in the era before vacuums and washing machines, and women worked outside of the home as 90% of the pre-modern population who were dirt poor often did. It was often supplementary to her husband's work to keep a peasant family from literally starving to death. It's only in modern times where things have radically and disastrously changed. Men have maintained their role of paying for women's stuff, either individually or through taxation, while women are on a population level failing their duties towards men, letting their side down as a group with catastrophic results. The fertility rate is in the toilet because women would rather be out girl bossing or slutting it up during their narrow biological window. In marriage, feminists have the nerve to suggest domestic labor should be equally shared when the financial burdens certainly aren't, either on an individual basis.
It makes sense when you guys are like both working and you both have careers and you both come home and do it. And it does make sense to somewhat split chores. But if the man earns all the money, he earns all the money.
It's around a societal one. And quite frankly, there is no pressure for women to be grateful, loyal, or supportive to their chosen partners in life. In short, there's no reciprocity. And when women do work, it's no longer supplementary to the husband's job or focused on making ends meet for the family. It is obnoxious girl bossing in direct competition to men in the job market. And it serves to suppress the growth of everybody's wages. Two people now need to work full-time jobs to buy the same stuff that one person could have bought 50 years ago. Thanks to second and third wave feminism, we've got an aging population, shrinking wages, and good luck buying a house. In short, feminism has given us a world that is by no means equal, and one that not only cheats men out of their money, but threatens to destabilize the entire economy and degrade the average standard of living for both men and women. The experiment has, well, and truly failed. And who would have thought that abandoning the tired and tested methods of countless millennia in favor of something a bunch of mentally ill left-wing academics invented in the 1960s would be a bad idea? Even in the workplace, many female jobs are worthless. And
we talk about this, like the bureaucratic world of female jobs. If majority of them just disappeared, most companies and most universities and stuff would still run properly because they're just useless jobs.
Little productivity, and by correlation, the growth of the economy. Human resources departments and DEI offers add nothing to productivity, and in many cases, it detracts from it. And the list of such useless jobs just goes on and on and on. Corporations have created entire disposable departments just to give women something to do. There's no better example of this than Elon Musk's purchase of Twitter. Musk laid off 80% of the workforce, 2/3 of which were positions held by women. And what was the result? The website kept running. And within a short space of time, Musk was able to introduce a handful of groundbreaking innovations, from community notes to XAI. In the distant past, women were largely kept out of the workforce because of how brutal and physically demanding most jobs were. But it is true in...
But they never see it that way. They just see it as, oh, we just wanted all the power because we wanted all the money. No. Jobs were fucking dangerous. Super dangerous because OSHA wasn't a thing
modern world
until more recent years.
A world that men gave us and continue to protect and pay for. There are plenty of jobs that women can do. And 1 in 1,000 women might turn out to be a Hillary Clinton instead of a Nala Ray. So sure, there are plenty of modern jobs women can do. Whether they should spend their 20s as a corporate branding specialist or an HR manager who adds little to nothing to productivity, or whether civilization has a greater need for them elsewhere. Men are apparently going to wind up carrying women as a financial burden either way,
Always.
just as they have done for hundreds of thousands of years of history. But in a world where 3 generations of women have been told they are gender traitors and essentially garbage if they choose family over career, and where the birth rates are so low that they are next to dinosaur bones, it is possible that what the world needs isn't girl bosses wasting away their 20s, but wives and mothers. At least then, the fact that the men foot the bill for most of our stuff would at least be halfway justified.
True.
But we are a very long way away from that sort of world, if we haven't already lost it forever. Thank you for watching.
Shout out to Pro. That was actually a wonderful video. I enjoyed it a lot. Learned quite a bit too, you know? And it's interesting to see how much money they spend, how much money we save, or how much money we give to the government and the government gives to them. $300 billion. My God. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. I really appreciate that. And catch you guys next time. Ciao.